Hey, what's up you guys, and welcome to Music Talk. Today is going to be a fun video. Album covers. They're really cool photos that the musical artist is trying to tell you an overall story of what the whole album is going to be. Today, I'm going to rank 20 of my personal favorites. Let's get started. Number 20, Taylor Swift, Reputation. The 6th studio album by Taylor Swift was released on November 10th, 2017. The album features a dark and heavier tone, digging into more of the personal stuff. The cover is a picture of her, and next to her and her face is all the newspapers and tabloids talking about her. Number 19, The Weeknd, My Dear Melancholy. The 5th studio album by The Weeknd was released on March 30th, 2018. The cover shows a lot. One of the obvious ones is his constant nods to Martin Scorsese, and I mentioned that in my last video about him. I also see sadness in his face. This unexpected EP dives deep into some of his previous relationships with some celebrities, one even being Selena Gomez. Number 18, Blink-182, Enema of the State. The 3rd studio album by Blink-182 was released on June 1st, 1999. You can't go wrong with this album. It's definitely a classic. Fun fact, the girl on the cover is a porn star, dressed as a nurse pulling on a rubber glove for obvious reasons. Number 17, Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin. The debut album by Led Zeppelin was released on January 12th, 1969. The cover shows an image of the burning Hindenburg airship in 1937. The image technically refers to the origin of the name of the band. Number 16, Various Artists, Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. This is the soundtrack album for the 1977 film of the same name released on November 15th, 1977. The cover is quite simple enough. It shows our lead character, played by actor John Travolta, in the foreground. In the background is the group The Bee Gees, who sang most of the tracks on the album. Number 15, The Beatles, Abbey Road. The 11th studio album by The Beatles was released on September 26, 1969. The cover was of the group crossing a road in a similar fashion. Fun fact, the photographer was only given 10 minutes to shoot this photo while standing on a stepladder. Meanwhile, a police officer held up traffic behind the camera. He shot them walking back and forth until one of those photos became the one for the album. Number 14, Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. The 7th studio album by Elton John was released on October 5th, 1973. Elton himself explained in an interview one time that he didn't dabble into drugs until after he made this album. On the cover you can clearly see the loss of innocence as he walks from one side to the other side of the wall, crossing the quote-unquote yellow brick road. Number 13, Ohio Players, Honey. The 7th studio album by the Ohio Players was released on August 16th, 1975. The cover of this album shows a nude woman holding a sticky jar of honey in one hand while swallowing a spoonful in the other. This cover for its time was considered racy before controversial album covers were very common. Fun fact, the girl on the cover was Playboy magazine's Playmate of the Month in October 1974. Number 12, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. The 9th studio album by Pink Floyd was released on September 12th, 1975. The cover shows two men shaking hands, one of which is on fire. Now, some people made up conspiracy theories that this is possibly somebody making a deal with the devil, or others have said it's some sort of Freemason thing. But most people say it's a tribute to one of the former bandmates, Syd Barrett, who used to go with the band in the 1960s, who suffered from schizophrenia. Number 11, Huey Lewis and the News, Sports. The 3rd studio album by Huey Lewis was released on September 15th, 1983. The cover shows the band hanging out at the 2 a.m. Club, a bar located in Mill Valley, California, where they used to perform in the early days. Number 10, Michael Jackson, Dangerous. The 8th studio album by Michael Jackson was released on November 26th, 1991. The cover displays Jackson's eyes and the single lock of hair behind a gold masquerade mask. It's definitely one of his more deeper meaning covers. One in which only one person would know most of the hitting meanings, and that'd be Michael himself. Number 9, Metallica, Master of Puppets. The 3rd studio album by Metallica was released on March 3rd, 1986. The cover is quite simple. It shows red hands holding strings attached to a line of tombstones, which are fallen soldiers. Rumors have even gone around saying that the red hands of the puppet master is the devil himself. Number 8, Rupert Holmes, Partners in Crime, The fifth studio album by Rupert Holmes was released on August 5th, 1979. My birthday. The cover shows him leaning against a wall while he cleans his glasses. The photo printed on the wall is him with a woman, kind of getting into the more detailed stories of the album. Number 7, Billie Eilish, Don't Smile at Me. The debut album by Billie Eilish was released on August 11th, 2017. The photo shows Billie sitting at the base of an oversized red ladder. A real good start for a long and hopefully wonderful career. Number 6, Cyndi Lauper, She's So Unusual. The debut studio album by Cyndi Lauper was released on October 14th, 1983. The cover shows Cyndi herself standing on Henderson Walk in Coney Island, New York, depicting wearing a vintage red prom-style dress purchased at a vintage clothing shop she used to work at. Also wearing costume jewelry on her ears, arms, neck, and her right ankle. She is barefoot, with the exception of the fishnet stockings and red high heels that appear in front of her, as she stands in front of an abandoned wax museum, posing in such a strange way, quote-unquote, to tie in with the album, that she is so unusual. Number 5, The Weeknd, Starboy. The fourth studio album by The Weeknd was released on November 25th, 2016. There's not much to say about this album cover. It shows the artist sitting in a chair with his hands on his head, surrounded by primary colors. I get a lot of 80s vibes from this album cover. I like this album cover so much that I used it for a poster for a short film I did back in 2017 called Sleep Killer, as I mentioned before in the video I did on The Weeknd. Number 4, The Eagles, Hotel California. The fifth studio album by The Eagles was released on December 8th, 1976. The cover art is a shot of the Beverly Hills Hotel just before sunset. The band wanted a hotel for the track and album name to have a mysterious look to it. And believe me, they found it. Number 3, Frankie Valli, Is the Word. The debut album by Frankie Valli was released on August of 1978. The cover shows the artist standing in a dark room with a spotlight shining onto him. He's casting a shadow onto the wall, but it's almost as if the shadow itself is the light and all around him is what the real shadow is. It's quite interesting, and that's why it deserves a really close spot on this list. Number 2, The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The 8th studio album by The Beatles was released on May 26, 1967. The cover depicts the Beatles surrounded by the images of famous figures from history and pop culture, almost like a giant birthday party. Number 1, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. The 8th studio album by Pink Floyd was released on March 1st, 1973. The album cover is inspired by a picture of a prism with a color beam being shined through it. Band member Richard Wright instructed the rest of the band to come up with something smarter, neater, and more classy. Definitely an amazing artwork for an amazing album. 100%. Well, there you go, guys. There's the video where I talk about my top 20 favorite and cool album covers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want some ATV merch, I'll be sure to put the link in the description below, and I will see you guys next time on ATV.